afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Main Street Now live at 4 on this kind of sticky Wednesday.
Yeah, summer is hanging on, but we should savor these days.
Absolutely. We'll get a complete look at the weather coming up. But first, here's what's making news on this Wednesday. President Trump is visiting the sites of the 2 mass shootings this weekend, but city leaders in Dayton say they are not looking for words of comfort from him.
Coach Paul Chryst says he would welcome the return of Quintez Cephas to the Badger football team if the school reinstates him. We'll talk to Kevin Lewis about that.
And members of the clergy would be required to report instances of child abuse under a new measure introduced today at the state capitol. Our Rose Schmidt will explain.
Let's take a look outside today. It was a nice summer day. Little humid, as you mentioned. Oh, that's a great shot.
Pollinators are out.
Yeah.
That's good. Comfortable end of the week. Those are some nice words to hear. Dana has a look at our first alert forecast. Hi, Dana.
We're going to get just a little bit of a drop in our humidity. That's the good news. The pollinators, of course, happy with the sunshine that we've had and the temperatures being comfortable for them. A live look with our Edgewater sky cam. We've got a few boats moving around. Overall, mostly blue sky with some clouds, though it is very warm outside. We're sitting at 83 in Madison, 85 in Lone Rock, 89 in La Crosse right now. That cold front is still off to the northwest, but we are having some shower chances starting to pop up right now up just north of Camp Douglas towards Black River Falls. There was a severe thunderstorm warning triggered already in central Wisconsin. Those storm chances will steadily creep south, but as you can see, most of the storms right now are still up to the north, and that's where there is a slight risk for severe weather tonight. The marginal risk stretching down into the southern edge of the state. Quick look at tomorrow. Plan on sunshine and temperatures not getting into the 80s. We'll stop at the upper 70s for afternoon highs. It should be quite a pleasant day. We'll take a closer look at what's ahead for the rest of the week in just a few minutes. Right now, bouncy to the roads. Here's the Beltline right at University Avenue. Both east and westbound seem to be moving along just fine. We don't have any major delays along the westbound side, but the eastbound side, before you get to Fish Hatchery Road, that's where we have the backups right now. As you can see, the Isthmus also seeing a few delays. Around DeForest, right now things look okay. Wanakee, though, delays both east and westbound on 113. From Janesville to the Beltline will take you about 27 minutes, 16 minutes to get from Sauk City and Middleton, and 16 minutes to get from Sun Prairie to downtown. That's a quick look at traffic.
All right. Thank you, Dana.
Thank you, Dana. First at 4, we start with an update on the aftermath of the Quintez Cephas trial.
Kevin Lewis joining us now with how Badger coach Paul Chryst is reacting. Kevin?
Yeah, it's not overly complicated, but it's not just a handshake thing either, and it's all over. Cephas formally applied for admittance to the UW. Between now and him actually running out onto the field to play for the Badgers, there are many steps and many moving parts. And it's a matter of if Cephas wants to come back fully to UW, if he wants to play college football again. Remember, he was working out in Arizona before his trial. There's no question the team would let him back. And while the dominoes fall, head coach Paul Chryst just wants them to fall in the right order for everyone involved.
You're not one guy on this team and coaches that don't want, truly, first and foremost, whatever's best for Q to help him go forward. That's what we want. And however that plays out, if it's best for Q, then we couldn't be more excited for him that way. You want everyone to be able to go forward, and so whatever's best for him, that's what truly we want.
Cephas had a breakout season in 2017, racking up 6 touchdowns and more than 500 yards before a leg injury cut his season short. Now, his team wanted an answer on admittance by tomorrow, and whether or not that happens, we shall see. Again, it's not a handshake situation. It's not a yes, you can come back thing. So the first domino falls, and then the rest of them fall, but the team says they would welcome him back if everything sets up in the right place for him to return.
And do we know if he would like to come back or potentially go somewhere else?
He has not publicly said, written things, tweeted either way, but if you had to wager and the team says come on back and everything lines up that way, it would be hard to believe that he wouldn't come back or at least strongly consider coming back.
But he wanted to be reinstated. I mean,
it
was his first move.
Once that happens, yeah.
All right, Kevin. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
You bet.
President Trump headed to 2 cities in mourning today, the sites of the nation's most recent mass shootings.
Critics say the president's rhetoric has encouraged a climate of hate. As Hillary Lane reports from El Paso, Texas, the president claims it's the other way around.
President Trump's first stop was in Dayton, Ohio, where he visited survivors of Sunday's mass shooting and thanked the first responders.
He was comforting, and he did the right things, and Melania did the right things, and it's his job in part to comfort people.
Outside the hospital, protesters blame the president for encouraging a culture of hate.
He has a lot of power, and he's been using it to incite violence.
But President Trump denied that his language has contributed to the violence.
No, I don't think my rhetoric has at all. I think my rhetoric is it brings people together.
Investigators say the 24-year-old who killed 9 people in Dayton's entertainment district had an interest in violent ideologies.
I don't like it. Any group of hate, whether it's white supremacy, whether it's any other kind of supremacy.
From Dayton, the president headed to El Paso, Texas. President Trump's visit to El Paso is especially controversial. Authorities say the man accused of opening fire here at this Walmart had posted an anti-immigrant manifesto. Mourners said the president, who has complained of a Hispanic invasion, should stay away from this largely Mexican-American community.
He talks about an invasion. Well, he's invading our community now.
El Paso native presidential candidate Beto O'Rourke says the president is part of the problem.
All of that fear, that anger, that hatred, that willingness to dehumanize our fellow human beings found a home in the killer.
Despite the political back and forth, the White House says this is a day for healing and honoring the victims of senseless violence. Hillary Lane, CBS News, El Paso, Texas.
President Trump says he's ready to move on toward new gun control measures. The president says the mass shootings in El Paso and Dayton have changed the political calculus around gun control. The president spent time visiting with the victims, as we just mentioned, of the shootings in Ohio and Texas, and heard pleas from local leaders for Washington to act.
There's a great appetite, and I mean a very strong appetite, for background checks, and I think we can bring up background checks like we've never had before.
We must act to get the weapons of war off our streets, out of our grocery stores, our bars, our temples, and our churches, and our schools by banning assault weapons once and for all.
Congressman Mike Turner's daughter was in the bar across the street at the time of the Dayton shooting. The Republican has an A rating from the NRA, but now says he supports an assault weapons ban. In a statement, Turner said the carnage these military-style weapons are able to produce when available to the wrong people is intolerable.
The Dane County DA's office has decided not to file charges against a Lyft driver accused of sexual assault. The 24-year-old man was arrested by Madison police on Friday after a rider said he locked the doors and forced her to perform sex acts. Police recommended a second-degree sexual assault charge, but today the DA says there is not enough evidence to prove the crime beyond a reasonable doubt. If more evidence surfaces, the case can be reconsidered. New at 4, Democratic state lawmakers say they want to give victims of child sexual abuse a new chance at justice.
They rolled out 2 new bills today, one of which is targeted at clergy members. Our Rose Schmidt is here to explain the proposal's chances of passing. Rose?
Yes, well, clergy members would be required to report allegations of child sexual assault under one of the proposals, even if those allegations are told in confession or in private. Representative Chris Taylor says the mandatory reporting bill aims to close a loophole in the law and has never been introduced before. Taylor and other Democrats also introduced the Child Victims Act, which would eliminate the statute of limitations on child sexual assault lawsuits. Currently, children have until age 35 to file civil suits, but Democrats and assault survivors say there shouldn't be an age limit.
We know that people need time to come forward, time to process the trauma of what has happened to them. Remembering what has happened, it's traumatic.
A group of women is alleging today that starting in the early 1980s, they were sexually abused by ministers from a Madison church as children, and that the allegations weren't reported to police despite them telling church officials. We'll hear from them on News 3 Now at 6. Bills eliminating the statute of limitations on child sexual abuse have failed in past sessions. The head of the group, Wisconsin Family Action, says she has concerns about removing the statute of limitations entirely, but she would consider supporting raising the age for victims to come forward. And Republican leaders did not respond to our request for comment today.
All right, Rose Schmidt reporting. We'll see you at 6. Thank you.
Thank you, Rose. Highway 19 in Sun Prairie was closed in both directions this afternoon because of a crash involving a cement truck. Dane County Dispatch says the crash happened shortly before noon. near Town Hall Drive. As you can see, a red car and the cement truck collided. The crash is still under investigation.
Residents in Beloit are back in their homes today after a driver trying to escape police crashed and caused a gas leak overnight. A City of Beloit spokesperson says a 29-year-old man refused to pull over for an officer. When he blew through an intersection, the officer ended the chase. Shortly after that, the suspect crashed into another car, rolling it onto its hood and into a pole at Harrison and Woodward Avenues. It also hit a gas line, forcing people within a one-block radius to evacuate. An Alliant Energy official says about 40 people lost power, but everybody is back home with the lights on now. The suspect was arrested for fleeing and other violations.
Well, there's more at 4. When we come back, do you wear a fitness tracker? Have you ever wondered how accurate it really is?
Well, the answer from our next guest, a UW expert, is, well, it depends. We'll get the lowdown on those steps and calorie counters when Live at 4 continues.
You're watching News 3 Now, live at 4.
Amazon's self-driving robots are branching out.
The online shopping giant says its six-wheeled robots will begin delivering packages to customers in Irvine, California. That comes after Amazon began testing them in a Seattle suburb earlier this year. Amazon says the robots, called Scout, are able to avoid obstacles such as trash cans and pedestrians. That's good. Walgreens is planning to shutter about 200 stores. The anticipated closures were mentioned in a regulatory form filed Tuesday with the Security and Exchange Commission. The retailer does not plan to announce which stores will close, but says they are in areas that have multiple locations. Walgreens says the closures represent less than 3% of its U.S. store portfolio. Most affected employees are expected to be placed elsewhere in the company. Stocks were mixed on Wall Street after rebounding from steep declines this morning. The Dow Industrials lost 22 points, closing at 26,007. The NASDAQ Composite Index gained 29. The S&P 500 was up 2. Well, we could all use a little help staying in shape.
And many of us rely on our fitness tracker to help keep us accountable. But have you ever wondered how accurate it really is, and does it matter? Lisa Cadmus-Bertram is an assistant professor of kinesiology and epidemiology at UW-Madison, who's done some research on this issue. Nice to see you.
Good afternoon to both of you.
So I guess that's the $6 million question. Are they accurate?
Yeah, so it's a really great question, especially with so many people relying on these devices and hoping that they'll, encourage them and motivate them to be able to live a healthier lifestyle. And so I think that one of the important things to remember is that we're asking these devices to track a lot of different metrics. So we know that they tend to be pretty accurate for measuring steps. So that's, I think, very good news for people who use them for that purpose. That's probably the #1 thing people are looking at. One of the things that tends to be a little bit more challenging for any device to measure is calories burned or energy expenditure. So I know a lot of people are using their tracker to help them maybe to keep track of how many calories they're eating versus how many calories they're burning, or to help them with weight loss efforts.
So you have to input that information for it to figure out your age, your weight, that sort of thing.
That's right. So it's looking at your age, it's looking at your gender, your weight, it's probably looking at whether you're pregnant or whether you're nursing a baby, and taking all that information into account, and it's trying to guess how many calories you burn per day.
So it doesn't know your own body,
it doesn't
obviously.
know. So it doesn't know if you're a person who tends to be have more fat tissue versus if you're somebody who's extremely muscular, then you might be burning more calories than the tracker thinks. So it's relying on a lot of guesswork. But the important thing I think that people can take from it is to know that if you're shooting for, let's say, burning 300 calories more per day than you're taking in, and you're trying to lose weight that way, and it's not working for you, that don't worry too much about whether the tracker is absolutely accurate. It just is telling you that probably you need to create that deficit that's a little bit bigger.
Now, when it comes to steps, you have an interesting situation.
I used to have a Fitbit, and I'd get like 10,000 and 11,000 steps a day. Now I have a Samsung, and 6,000 is what they recommend, and I get about 6,000 or 7,000, but nowhere near 10,000 or 11,000. Is that tracking differently, or is it operating differently?
Yeah, so it's almost certainly not tracking differently. The internal mechanism of all fitness trackers is essentially the same, and then they're running those raw data through their own proprietary algorithms that each company has designed separately. So if you wear 2 different trackers, they might give you slightly different numbers of steps at the end of the day. The difference is that Fitbit and Garmin have made their own decisions about what goals they want to give people. Fitbit is relying on the goal that's most emphasized by public health officials, which is 10,000 steps per day, and Garmin is choosing a less ambitious or potentially more realistic goal.
Like 6,000, like your
which can be
Samsung.
a great idea, and some of the Garmin devices will actually adjust the goal over time. So we're always trying to strike that balance between motivating people to do more and also not giving them goals that are so high that they're going to discourage people or just kind of be so ambitious that they're hard to reach.
What other sorts of things should you track?
I think that steps and minutes of physical activity are probably the most important ones. So people might be interested to know that we do have national physical activity guidelines that come out every 10 years, and the newest set was just released in November. So we have updated guidelines that say that we should be doing 150 minutes a week of moderate to vigorous intensity activity. So it can be running, cycling, swimming, even brisk walking for most people, especially for older folks, can be a very excellent way to exercise. So when you're looking at the tracker and it shows you something like active minutes, that's actually probably the best metric that you can use to see how you're stacking up against getting those 150 minutes a week.
And it's motivation for a lot of people.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
It absolutely is. I mean, I think that getting that understanding of where you're starting from and getting a better sense of being able to measure your own assessment of your activity each day is one of the biggest benefits that you can get from using a tracker.
I'm on the treadmill, and after 20 minutes, great job, keep it going, that sort of thing.
How accurate, speaking of being on the treadmill, is it at recording your heart rate? Is that similar to calories burned, where it can't quite modify itself to your own?
That's a super question, and it really depends on one thing, and that is whether you're at rest or at exercise. At rest, they're very good. Most people don't care about their heart rate at rest. They're more interested in their heart rate during exercise. Now, during exercise, there's a lot of noise. So it might be at 1 second measuring you 10 or 20 beats too high, and then at the next second, 5 or 10 or 20 beats too low. It averages out over time. So if you look at the average heart rate over a walk that maybe was 20 or 25 minutes, it's going to be about right. If you're using it, for example, let's say you're doing a 10K run and you're jogging along and you're feeling pretty tired and you're saying, oh, I wonder what my heart rate is right now, and you check, that's not a good use because you might be seeing a number that's misleading in terms of how high or low it is.
Interesting.
So essentially, compared to a heart rate monitor that's on with an electrode placed on the chest, like the chest strap monitors, there's just a lot more bumps and noise, and that's just because it's a lot harder, you know, to measure through the skin with a light on your wrist than it is to actually have an electrode on the chest.
So the answer is it depends. Lisa, thanks for being with us. Put on the
really
track.
interesting.
Yeah, it's great motivation, though.
Yeah.
Thanks for being with us.
Great
today.
to see you.
My pleasure.
Well, there's more to come at 4, including a look at this month's tastemaker.
And then tonight at 5, how a Fond du Lac man is remembering his late wife with a road trip planned by her.
Take a look at this. A Washington woman's close encounter involving an octopus and her face can only be described in one way. It sucked. Evidently, that's what an octopus does when you put it on your chin to take a hilarious photo.
Oh, no.
It happened to Jamie Biscali after she hooked the 8-legged mollusk at a fishing derby, but the octopus didn't just stick to her, it bit her, and that left Jamie bleeding and swollen. But but she powered through and actually fished for 2 more days before seeking medical help.
Well, there is a teachable moment.
Yeah.
She said she learned a lesson. She's not going to put an octopus on her face anymore.
Kids, for everyone watching,
don't do it.
Put an octopus on your face.
No.
Oh, that must have been scary,
I
though.
can't believe she went 2 days, though, without...
And she kept going. It was a fishing tournament.
Yeah.
You can't give up.
Right, she got
She's tough.
bit by
Jamie's
an
tough.
octopus. We should go to a doctor. Okay, fishing tournament on the...
She's fine.
She's fine. It's great weather for fishing, though, especially in the mornings when it's been really nice and comfortable. The good news, tomorrow morning, of course, it's going to be much more comfortable outside. We do have some storm chances starting to bubble up in central Wisconsin right now. We'll take a closer look at that Doppler track and the rest of the work of the week right after the break. So far, it has been a pretty sunny but very warm and humid day. A live look from Platteville with our Queen Bee Radio Skycam's got nice blue sky, a few clouds. Overall, not a bad scene right now in Platteville, but if you go just a little further north, that's where we're seeing the showers and thunderstorms. Currently, in central Wisconsin, we do have some stronger thunderstorms north of Black River Falls, north of Camp Douglas, north of the Dells. Those isolated storms, as you can see, bringing quite a bit of lightning around Green Bay, some heavier rainfall in spots up towards Rhinelander. No warnings in effect right now, but those scattered storms are going to continue to press southeast. So as we get later into this evening, closer to about 7, 8, 9 o'clock, we'll start to see those showers and thunderstorms really slide down into our area. This is all as a front up to the northwest pushes south. The good news with this front, behind it, things are going to be much more comfortable outside for the end of the work week and for the weekend. Our temperatures will be a little closer to average, if not a little below, and our dew points behind this front will finally get zapped down too, so it won't be nearly as humid outside. But in front of it, first, we do have to get through these storm chances sliding through tonight. Again, most of the strong storms, though, are up to the north currently. It's 85 right now in Eau Claire, 87 in Minneapolis. Right at the edge of that front, we have some warmer air in place, 89 in La Crosse. In Madison, we're closer to 83, so it's still just a little bit above average and a little warm, a little humid. Compared to this time yesterday, we're sitting in a similar spot with our temperatures. Our dew points in the mid to upper 60s. That's a bit of a jump, though, from where we're at about 24 hours ago. So it feels a little warmer outside, just a little more humid. Now, heading into tonight, our skies are actually going to become mostly clear by Thursday morning. We aren't going to have anything new move on in. In fact, these storms slide through this evening, and then they're out of here by about midnight. By Thursday morning, we're mostly clear. In the afternoon, we're mostly sunny. It should be very pleasant outside with those afternoon highs in the upper 70s, and our dew points in a much better spot also. Friday, we're planning on a mostly sunny sky, so if you have any Friday plans to wrap up your work week, you'll be all good to go with that sunshine. High pressure keeping things pretty quiet actually throughout the Midwest. But with those storm chances coming through tonight, there is a slight risk for severe weather stretching for most of central and northern Wisconsin. Of course, Green Bay included in that. It dips down a little bit around Fond du Lac. But the rest of southern Wisconsin, or the rest of the state, really included in a marginal risk for severe weather. So we aren't expecting anything too strong to come through, but some isolated storm spots could see some heavier rainfall at times, and the wind speeds, of course, picking up as those isolated storms do slide through. It could be one of those nights where some folks just don't see any rain, and other people could pick up quite a bit with some of those heavier storms, especially if they start trailing each other. So again, later this evening, there is that chance for the storms to sink further south. By Thursday morning, our temperatures are going to drop to the mid to low 60s. It'll be real comfortable outside in the morning, and then in the afternoon in the upper 70s for afternoon highs with a mostly sunny sky. By Friday morning, we're still enjoying that clear sky. We'll be in the 50s, though, for our overnight lows. My AC will appreciate the break. And then by Friday afternoon, we're mostly sunny, and those temperatures in the afternoon again in the upper 70s, so just a little below average, but still very comfortable into the week. Temperatures now are starting to drop off, of course, over the next 12 hours. Will fall quite a bit overnight. Just because of that mostly clear sky, it's going to allow us to drop to about 62, steadily becoming mostly clear for us. Of course, we have to get through those isolated shower and storm chances. Tomorrow, plan on a high of about 78, mostly sunny, certainly a little cooler outside, but more importantly, it's just going to be less humid. Our breeze coming from the northwest tomorrow, about 8 to 15 miles per hour, enough that you'll notice a little bit of a breeze, but it's not going to be too windy outside. Mostly sunny for Thursday and Friday. Our temperatures in the upper 70s for both days. Now, Saturday and Sunday, it will be just a little bit warmer. We'll watch those temperatures climb up into the lower 80s with this chance for a thunderstorm to develop Saturday night, and then on Sunday we also have a slight storm chance. Continuing to see a slight storm chance there into Monday, and then the system sliding through on Tuesday is going to bring a stronger chance for some showers and thunderstorms there to start off the work week. But we're going to be a little more humid by the weekend. Tomorrow and Friday, though, really expecting fantastic weather to wrap up the work week and give us some sunshine and just get rid of the humidity.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Stuff.
That would be fantastic right now.
And the severe threat is dwindling.
It really is dwindling. Now, we're not really at the chance, of course, to have maybe an isolated storm become really strong or even severe, but this isn't going to be a widespread incident. We aren't expecting nearly as much rain as what we saw earlier this week.
Keep an eye on it.
Yes, yeah, just keep an eye on it, of course. Phone buzzes.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Thank you, Dana.
All right, thanks, Dana.
An unprecedented new rule will soon impact millions of travelers. San Francisco's airport is banning the sale of plastic water bottles.
As Kenneth Craig reports, it's the latest move away from plastic.
Getting hydrated is about to change at one of the busiest airports in the country. San Francisco International sells around 4 million plastic water bottles each year. But those days are numbered as the airport has taken the historic step of banning the sale of single-use water bottles.
I think it's a fantastic idea. We can't go on like this. We have to put a stop to all the plastic.
Thirsty passengers will need to carry their own reusable bottles or buy water in glass or aluminum. The airport is following a San Francisco ordinance that prohibits the sale of plastic water bottles on city property starting August 20th.
Yes, that's a sign of the times. No plastic bags, no plastic bottles.
More and more communities are going after various kinds of single-use plastic. California, Hawaii, and New York have all banned plastic bags, along with dozens of other cities.
Seattle became the first city to ban plastic straws and utensils last year, and SeaTac, the city's airport, followed suit. You can now find alternatives like paper straws, and some companies offer single-use water bottles in metal and cartons. Next year, Aquafina will start selling water in aluminum cans. San Francisco is just the first airport to get rid of plastic bottles, but with other municipalities reportedly interested, it looks like an idea that's ready to take off. Kenneth Craig, CBS News, New York.
This is such a huge problem.
That'd be hard.
I tried one day to use no plastic, and I did great most of the day until I needed a trash bag. And then I thought, uh-oh, now what do I do?
Disposable plastic.
It's really, really tough. But it's a big problem.
Yeah, and it's going to get worse.
You take a sip out of your plastic water bottle. I know.
I recycle, though. I use this.
Well, that's good. Every little bit helps.
Over and over. All right, stay with us for News 3 Now at 4. We're taking another look at your top headlines this afternoon.
Including the latest on Quintez Cephas. Will Coach Paul Chryst let him play if he's reinstated at the UW? We'll share that in your headlines now.
Welcome back. Let's get a look at your headlines now.
And we start with some breaking news just into the Channel 3000 Alert Center. The Lake Delton Police Department says a 40-year-old man drowned in Lake Delton this afternoon. First responders were called out to Newport Park around 1 o'clock for a man they say went swimming and never returned to the surface.
Life-saving measures attempted on the man, but the man died at the scene. There's more information on our website, channel3000.com. The Wisconsin football team says they would welcome Quintez Cephas back if he's allowed to return to the University of Wisconsin. Cephas was acquitted Friday after he was charged with sexual assault last summer. Several of Cephas's friends and former teammates have been quite vocal online supporting his return. Head coach Paul Chryst says if he wants best for Cephas, and he hopes he returns to the team.
The Dane County District Attorney says a Lyft driver will not be charged for allegedly sexually assaulting a passenger early Friday morning. The DA says there is insufficient evidence to charge the driver, who was initially accused of forcing a woman to perform a sex act. The driver is no longer in jail and never had to make a court appearance.
And at the state capitol, some lawmakers rolled out a package of bills that would require members of the clergy to report instances of child abuse. Senator Lena Taylor, along with Representatives Chris Taylor and Melissa Sargent, announced the bill at a news conference this morning. Another bill would abolish the statute of limitations for child sexual abuse cases. Clergy would not be required to report cases of sexual assault they hear during religious ceremonies like confessions. And still to come at 4, are you in the mood for a little French food? Then head to Willie Street.
That's what our tastemaker did. Madison Magazine's Andrea Bailing checks out La Kitchenette when Live at 4 continues.
No accidents to report right now, which is, of course, good news. Here's a look at the Beltline right at University Avenue. Both the east and westbound, at least on 12, seem to be looking okay right now. The speeds on the eastbound side reduced all the way from Gammon Road through John Nolan down to about 30 miles per hour around the closer you get to Gammon Road, but the eastbound side there closer to Fish Hatchery down into the teens, and still all the way through John Nolan, still going only 24 miles per hour. So it is likely going to take you about an extra 10 minutes or so to get to your destination. If you're going eastbound, on the westbound side, we have delays from John Nolan up to Fish Hatchery Road, and then things improve from there. Around DeForest, we don't have any delays right now, but Wanakee, a little bit more backups than usual tonight. There is a Mallards game as folks are heading down 113 coming up here in just a few hours. From Janesville to the Beltline, it'll be about 26 minutes. Sauk City to Middleton, 15. And some Prairie to downtown. It's got a little longer for this evening, about a 19-minute commute. That's a quick look at traffic.
All right, Dana, thank you. A Belgian resident bought a painting from a friend 15 years ago to help him out. He paid about $50. Years later, the man decided to have somebody look at the painting, and lo and behold, it's an original Rembrandt.
Wow.
Its value, according to experts, is between $20 and $30 million. The man now hopes to sell it. Don't blame him. When you step inside of La Kitchenette's front door on Willie Street, you're transported to a cafe in Paris.
And that is exactly what the owner is aiming for. The Parisian native is happy to give Madison a taste of her hometown.
Andrea Belling has the story in this month's Tastemaker segment.
We are here with Virginie of La Kitchenette. Thank you so much for having us in today.
Thank you for coming.
First, I want to talk about what we have on the table here. We got a lot of good goodies here. Can you tell me what we have?
Yeah, so we can start first with the French onion soup. So it's, you know, a very popular dish. So the onion soup is made with different type of onions that are caramelized, and then they're cooked in white wine, cognac too. And we top them with house-made croutons that we make from Madison sourdough meat.
Oh, cool! Just right down the road.
Yeah, so that makes them like super crispy, and we top that, we broil that with Swiss cheese.
What do we have here?
And then here we have another very French traditional dish that is the bœuf bourguignon, meaning beef burgundy. So we call it beef bourguignon because the beef is marinated in burgundy wine. Yeah, so it's marinated for at least 24 hours, and we braise it for like 2 days. First, like 4 hours, and then 3 hours the next day. And we flavor the dish with some carrots, onions, mushroom, and then some bacon from WISC.
Oh, cool. Yep. These over here, they're beautiful. What are
so
these?
those are œuf mimosa. So œuf mimosa means deviled eggs.
Deviled eggs.
So yeah, deviled eggs. So this is not the very traditional deviled eggs.
No.
I added some Asian influence. Yeah, of course.
You added Asian influence?
Yeah, Asian influence. So you have the egg that is marinated in soy. And yeah, and then you have sesame, mayonnaise that is stuffed with green onions, pickled red onions, and some crispy rice that makes a very like nice texture, like crispy and soft. And I think it's like it gives a real explosion of flavors in the mouth and a very long aftertaste.
Yeah,
that's why I really like.
Nice umami flavor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Delicious.
Yeah.
And what is this beauty over here?
And this is the green toast. So it's our brunch now best seller. So it's a vegetarian dish, but you can top it with prosciutto or smoked salmon, like it is here. Yeah. So it's a savory French toast.
Oh.
Kind of.
I've never had a savory French toast before.
So we use Madison sourdough brioche, and we dip the bread in green onion, spinach batter, and we add some lime chili mayonnaise and a fried egg.
Oh, wow.
It's very delicious.
You grew up in Paris, is that right?
Yeah, I grew up in Paris.
What was that like?
So I really liked the fact that it's a frantic city, so it's always moving. You know, you have always new restaurants opening from all around. You know, from different cuisine, and you have so much things to do in art and music. So it's like lots of inspiration going around. Yeah. But you know, it's a big city, but you can always find like some very hidden and cozy spots. So that's why I love, you know.
This place just feels like a little slice of Paris when you walk in here.
Yeah, it's like super cozy, intimate, and like a second home. So that's really what I wanted to, you know, that feeling I wanted to give is like you enter, once you get in, it's like you feel like comforted, like the food we want to offer too.
Yes. Well, this is such a cute place on Willie Street here. Thank you for having us in.
Thank you.
Andy's here now. What a charming little place.
Yeah, it's so cute in there, and it was cute when I came in. The chalkboard wall on the back is really pretty, and she went up there and pointed to her hometown in France.
Oh,
so.
I love her accent. Now, she's the owner, and she's also the chef, right?
She is, yeah. She's usually the only one in the kitchen back there, and they get busy for their brunch. That green toast.
The savory French toast?
Yeah, that's so good. I've never had anything like that.
But it's small. You're going to have to wait.
Maybe, yeah. Sometimes you can get in, but yeah, there's only a couple tables, but it gives it this really nice, cozy feeling in there.
What brought her to Madison from Paris?
Her boyfriend came here, and she says she misses Paris, and but she's found a spot here in Willie Street. There's not a ton of French restaurants here.
Yeah.
She worked 2 weeks at Chez Nanu, which used to be in that location, and then opened up her own restaurant, which was kind of her dream that happened really quickly.
And she's hoping to expand.
Yeah,
I read in Madison magazine.
She mentioned at the end of our interview that she would love to do some Cambodian pop-ups. She's Cambodian, raised in Paris, but yeah, she was interested in doing some different kind of fare. So yeah, we'll see if she does some pop-up events.
This is such a foodie city.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
A little gem like this on Willie Street, you wouldn't expect that.
Yeah, no, and I feel like people, locals think of it as like a hidden gem. They don't want anyone to know about it, so sorry about the article.
Thanks, Andy. La Kitchenette.
Yes, La Kitchenette.
What's the address?
Willie Street.
Okay.
Yes.
Can't miss it. All right, pick up Madison magazine for lots more on this and other food stuff.
Yes.
Andy, thank you.
Thanks, Andy.
Yep, thank you, guys.
Right back with a final check of your forecast.
Ready to roll playback.
Keeping an eye out for a stray shower or two.
We are right now, yes. We actually have some stronger thunderstorms up towards north of Fond du Lac and near Green Bay. If we look at our Doppler track, bouncing again up to the north. That's where those warnings are currently. That also lines right on up with that slight risk for severe weather tonight. Otherwise, the marginal risk for southern Wisconsin is really just for isolated storms. As we look at our Edgewater sky camera, the live look at downtown, it doesn't look too bad right now. We are seeing a few more clouds build on in, but otherwise there's still some blue sky in spots. Your evening plans should be good to go outside, but of course, folks around the Dells, Camp Douglas, I would recommend just keeping a closer eye to the sky in the next few hours. Everywhere south, you've still got a few more hours before we have to worry about isolated storm chances coming on in. Otherwise, warm and humid. We're at 83 right now, Madison 86 in Mineral Point, and those heat index readings put us a little closer to the mid to upper 80s with our dew points in the 60s right now. Thankfully, this is the last day that it's going to be this warm and humid outside because these storms are all associated with the cold front. And that cold front, of course, is going to zap away the heat and our humidity. So your Thursday and Friday, it'll still hold the sunshine, but with temperatures in the upper 70s, it's definitely going to feel much better outside. Upper 70s is like my ideal summer temperature.
Yeah.
They've gotten hit over and over up in Green Bay with storms.
They have just been getting nailed with rain, with wind gusts, and with strong storms coming through.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Dana.
Keep an eye on
Sorry,
things.
someone's talking to us.
Tomorrow here on Live Before, we're taking your pet questions live with a new guest, veterinarian Carrie Donahue.
Looking forward to that. And our Melissa Kim is at Lambeau Field for the Packers' first preseason game of the year against J.J. Watt and the Texans.